Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's stream. I hope all of the different streams are working. Well, what I mean, all the different streams, there's only two of them. There is one on DLive and one on YouTube. That is right. I am live on both YouTube and DLive this evening. And if those watching could do me a big favor, before we get into the meat of what we're going to be talking about tonight, if you could please share the stream. And fortunately, I can't. Well, not on Twitter anyway. I can't share it on Twitter. So if anyone would like to share it on Twitter, that would be very helpful. Because as I said, unfortunately, I can no longer do that. And that was one of the little rituals that I always carry out before a show. Go over to Twitter, share the show, share the entropy. No more of that. I am now relying on all you good people to do that work for me, because that's what we're here for tonight, to discuss my deplatforming from Twitter. But before we get into that, and I'm going to be giving you lots of different thoughts on this, a bit of perspective. If you would like to contribute to the show, if you would like to help me financially, if you would like to ask questions, if you want me to answer anything, please do so via Entropy. I'm dropping the Entropy chat in both of the live chats now on both YouTube and over on DLive. We've already got about 1,000 people watching across the two platforms. But if you would like to use Entropy, that is the best way to either drop a super chat and financially support me, or ask a question. And obviously, I am here tonight to answer your questions as well as to discuss this horrible deplatforming. You can also contribute to me in other ways. If you go over to my BitChute, you can find my Bitcoin address, or if you write to me at mark@thefallofwesternman.com, I can point you in the direction of other ways to make donations. That's if you'd like to support my work. And obviously, my work is getting harder and harder all of the time. My work is getting more and more difficult because I am being attacked. It was only the other month I had my business bank account shut down. I had all my bank accounts frozen for a short period of time. And that seemed to pass. We seemed to brush that off. And this morning when I woke up, I didn't actually know my Twitter was down. I checked my emails. There was nothing in my emails, actually. Nothing at all. Twitter hadn't even emailed me. In fact, it was a friend of mine who had got up and gone through Twitter to see what her usual Twitter, sort of the people she was following on Twitter were saying, what the news was, and I was missing. And at this point, I saw it. My WhatsApp message read, "Has your Twitter been suspended?" And at that point, when people start asking that, usually it means your Twitter has been. I'm not sure why people ask you that question. People say, "Has your Twitter been suspended?" Well, the notification they get when clicking on you that says your Twitter has been suspended should be the answer to that question. And they maybe should have just said, "Mark, your Twitter has been suspended." But nevertheless, that is how I found out. I went through all my mailboxes to see if I'd been emailed. Of course, I hadn't been emailed. I had to log in via my PC and send Twitter an email to attempt to appeal it. And I'm not holding my breath for an appeal or for anything to come of any fair play or any fair use policy that Twitter might have, because we know there is no fair play, there is no fair use when it comes to these big tech companies. And I've been talking about a lot of spicy things lately, most notably about the presidential election, who I think won the presidential election, and how I believe the presidential election went and why it went that way. And I've been talking about that on Twitter, I've been talking about that on Telegram, I've been talking about that with numerous American commentators on American radio networks, most notably the Republic Broadcasting Network and the Rents Radio Network. They're great networks because they can't be taken down. They're not under the control of big tech, which is a really, really good thing, because these big tech companies, they are part of the problem. Recently, I've talked about this sort of three-pronged attack on us. We have the establishment and all the powers that the establishment has. I've talked about the mainstream media, and the third part of this attack is, of course, the big tech companies, which involves Google, all the social media companies. We've seen it on Facebook, we've seen it on Instagram, We've seen it now on Twitter. We've been seeing it for a long time. And I'm not here to claim that I'm the first. I'm not here to claim that I'm the person who's been hit hardest by this. We've lost so many good people. We have lost Red Ice. We've lost Vincent James. We've lost countless Twitter accounts. People like Alex Jones, people like Katie Hopkins. I'm no massive fan of Tommy Robinson, but Tommy Robinson lost his Facebook. He lost his Twitter. He's been deplatformed everywhere. This is a mass wave of silencing, and it certainly hasn't started with me. And I wish I could say it's going to end with me. I wish I could say I would be the last person to be deplatformed, but I'm not going to be the last person to be deplatformed. I am just part of an ongoing wave to purge any truth tellers from mainstream social networks. And the thing that makes this so dangerous now, what makes it more dangerous now than it was when it started, is now we are all trapped in our homes. Social media has truly become the public space. It's truly become the town square because we're all trapped in our home on lockdown. We can't go out. We can't go to pubs. We can't go to cafes, restaurants and bars. We can't meet in big groups. We can't hold political meetings or rallies. And if we do, the organisers are fined £10,000 and carted away. The people attending are fined £200 each. These are truly frightening times. The public space, the town square, is a virtual space. It's a virtual town square. And the powers that be can remove you from that at the click of a button and completely silence you, even if you have a large account. And mine wasn't the largest Twitter account in the world. It certainly wasn't the largest account to have been ever banned or suspended or messed with. I had over 60,000 followers. On a monthly basis, I was getting around 12 million Twitter views per month. I was quite good at writing snappy little bulletins for people. It worked quite well. The message was getting out. I'm sure they were well aware that the message was getting out, and there are numerous groups that exist solely for the reason of stopping people like us tell the truth. There are groups that exist solely to prevent us talking to people about demographics, about migration, about issues that are happening in America, re BLM. There are now mass bannings going on about this election. And you can see how bad it is, because everything that I'm going through is obviously overshadowed by the fact that Donald Trump himself is being censored on Twitter. The president of America is being censored on Twitter by Twitter. They are now the people who filter the news. The president speaks, the people are waiting to hear what he says, and in between the people and the president is Twitter, and Twitter filter what he's saying depending on whether they like it or not. Now, that is an incredible abuse of power, but it tells you exactly how much power they have. The highest elected office in the world, the man who is meant to be the most powerful man in the world, the leader of what is known as the free world, the West, is now being told what he can and can't say by big tech companies. And yes, I only had 60,000 followers. I had a decent reach. I had been retweeted by people like Ann Coulter, Katie Hopkins, celebrities, sitting senators and governors. I had even been retweeted by Donald Trump Jr. But that doesn't matter, because at the push of a button, at the click of a mouse, it's all gone. It's all gone. And there's nothing I can do about it. And I have referenced Donald Trump. I have referenced the censorship that he has received over the last few days, the last few weeks. But in a very real way, as much as I want him to be the president, as much as I supported his campaign, I have to say his inaction, his inability to get a hold of these social networks, the inability of Donald Trump, or whether it's his inability or the fact he didn't really want to, I don't know. He talked a good game, but he didn't act on things like this. And a lot of people are saying, well, he's brought this upon himself. But it isn't just him, is it? It's not just Donald Trump. Every time I've seen big accounts and big content creators be deplatformed, I've gone out of my way to help those people, to get those people on my show. Not the biggest show in the world. It's not the most watched show in the world. Probably not the best show in the world. I'm certainly not saying it's the best show in the world. It's a good show, though. But I've done my best to get them on. I had Vincent James on after he'd been deplatformed. I had Adam Green on. We had Henrik and Lana on. Absolutely lovely couple. They've got a beautiful family. Look what damage they've done to them and their ability to provide for their children. It's absolutely shocking. And I'm not the only one who's reached out to people and helped people who've been deplatformed. But the fact is, mainstream conservatives have sat on their hands and whistled whilst everyone to the right of them has been censored and deplatformed and had their accounts taken away. And very soon, they will be the last people on those networks that say anything that in any way, even in the slightest way, counter signals the liberal, anti-white, progressive, degenerate narrative. And that leaves them as the next ones to be eaten by the crocodile. Because what they were hoping was that if they didn't criticize the crocodile, if they didn't make any noises whilst the people to the right of them were being eaten by the crocodile might spare them. Well, news to them, it's not. The crocodile isn't sparing Donald Trump. The crocodile didn't spare Charlie Kirk before the election. And I've seen plenty of others. I've seen the Katie Hopkins go. We've seen David Vance go. All of these people who occasionally may counter-signal people like me or kiss certain parts of the progressive butt cheek. All of them have gone, and many, many more, or have been suspended, and many, many more will be. Just as they will be on Facebook, just as they will be on YouTube, just as they will be on any mainstream social network. And that answer is always the same, isn't it? It's always that pathetic cry. Well, if you don't like it, go and set up your own social network. It's a private company. Well, we did. We have. We've got Gab. We've got Telegram. We've got BitChute. I could add Parler to that, but I'm a bit suspicious of that particular network. But we've got Gab, we've got Telegram, we've got BitChute. And you know what happens? As soon as we make our own social networks, as soon as we make spaces and places that enshrine freedom of speech, what happens next? Oh, well, Google Play Store doesn't allow the app. You can't find it if you search on Google anymore. The App Store has banned the app or any mention of it. The App Store has banned third-party apps that aren't actually anything to do with that particular network but service it. What? So they tell you to make your own social network. You do that, and then they stop you from using it, or they hide it from you. And if you speak out too much, they'll take your domain name. They'll contact your service provider. And this is all going in one direction. It's all moving towards one thing. Eventually, all of these big companies, your broadband provider, your electricity provider, your gas provider, your water provider, will they be going through people's names and oh, Mr. Collett there. Is that the guy? Yeah, we'll ask him for proof of ID and we'll get rid of him, because that's what happened to me with PayPal. I wasn't using PayPal for political purposes. I was using PayPal to buy old computer games on eBay. I was using it for recreational activities. In fact, when I rang PayPal support, I asked them to go through all my transactions and they couldn't find anything wrong with them. They were bemused, but they never got back to me about my complaint because I had been deplatformed, and I knew I was going to be deplatformed because they asked for a picture of my driving license to keep using the network. And as soon as they had a picture of my driving license, I knew exactly what was going to happen with PayPal. And again, it shows how spiteful they are. These people aren't acting for good. They're not doing the right thing. They're not doing this because I was up to no good on PayPal. They're not doing it because I might have been using PayPal for nefarious reasons. They got rid of my PayPal because they're spiteful, vile, vindictive, horrible creeps, because they'll do anything to get at you. They'll do anything to dig at you. They'll do anything to give you that little poke, to demoralize you, to make you feel as if your cause might be a bit too much hassle, to make it feel like my life could be a bit easier if I just went and did something else. Well, I'll live without PayPal. And you know what? I'll live without Twitter as well, because this cause to me means more than anything. And this censorship doesn't make me reevaluate my beliefs. It makes me realize that everything I've stood for my entire adult life is 110% correct, because these people are proving our point. They can't debate me. They won't debate me. They can't outwit me on Twitter. They can't stop my growth, even when they shadow ban me, even though for a long time on Twitter, all of my tweets with any form of media came up with a warning. My Twitter was still growing by a good few dozen people every day. And I was still getting tens of millions of views every month. And over a year, I was getting the kind of views that would make the left wince. And for all the promotion of left-wing Twitter accounts, for all the bumping up of those accounts in the algorithms and the searches and the suggestions, I was still doing better than those. And that's because, whether they want to accept it or not, we have something on our side that they will never have. And fundamentally, that's the truth. We have the truth, and we have what I believe is the natural order of the world. These progressives, these degenerates, these liberals, everything they push is against the natural order of the way things should be. And everything we push has natural order behind it. We go the right direction and they're going the wrong direction. And they know that. And that is why they won't debate us. That's why they have to silence us. And that's why when we set up our own networks, when we try to hold our own meetings, when we try to bring people together, that is why they have to use these underhand tactics to beat us, because they can't beat us in a fair fight. And I'll tell you one thing. When I was on Twitter, when I was using Facebook for political reasons, I always stuck to one fundamental rule, and that was never play by their rules. These anti-whites create rules that we're meant to follow. They create this huge rule book of things we can say and things we can't say. They talk about optics. They talk about how we must play the game to be seen as good and fair and decent. Only fools follow their enemies' rules. Only people who wish to be defeated accept rules of engagement laid out for them by their enemies. And that's why mainstream conservatives, that's why, I don't want to get into a big session of attacking people, but that's why people like Charlie Kirk, that's why people in the Republican Party, that's why well-meaning conservatives in Britain are always on the back foot, because they're always playing by the rules of people who want to see them gone. And I never played by their rules. And no matter how many social networks they take off me, I'm not going to start playing by their rules, because playing by their rules would ensure defeat. And there's plenty of people who say, look, Mark, you're never going to win. You're never going to win. Well, I might not win, but I'm definitely not going to win if I start playing by the rules my enemies lay out for me. I'm not going into the boxing ring with one arm tied behind my back because my opponent says that's the way I have to fight. That is that. And that is my promise to everyone watching tonight. I'm not giving in, and I'm certainly not going to start cooking. Not now, not ever. And as I said, if they think that getting rid of my Twitter is going to get me to bow my head, It's not. Now, there is other things that people will say. They'll say, look, Mark, they've done this to affect your income. They've done this because you have a show every Wednesday, you hold streams on different social networks, on different video providers, on different streaming services. They've done this because you appear on other people's streams and shows. And often you appear on streams and shows and you give a big boost to smaller streams by appearing and tweeting them out and using your reach to expose smaller content creators to large numbers of people. And all of this will affect you. It will affect other people. It'll affect you financially. And I know that's what they want me to think. I know that these people will think this is going to break my spirit, that I'll be sat at home thinking, I could just live that easy life. I could just live that easy life with my lady and my beautiful daughter, and we could turn our back on all this nastiness that's going on in the outside world, and we could build a happy little cocoon for ourselves. And in that happy little cocoon, I could live out my days and pretend all of this isn't happening. No. I know plenty of people who over the years have walked away from the nationalist cause because they've taken knocks. I know plenty of people who were absolute nationalist stalwarts for the best part of a decade or more. And something happened and it broke their will. And they turned their back on the movement, and they've gone and they've found a hobby, they've found a church, they've found a partner, they've had children, and now they keep themselves in their warm, fuzzy, cozy little cocoon where all of the nasty things that we call reality can't get them. And yeah, you can run. You can run, but only so far. You might run to North Yorkshire first. That might get a little bit too, what should we say, diverse. Then eventually you run a bit further north and a bit further. And then you end up on the Hebrides, on an island somewhere north of Scotland with your family, hoping that it doesn't creep its way up there. But it will eventually. But maybe you'll be one of the lucky ones. Maybe you'll get far enough away that in the next 30, 40, 50 years, however much time you've got left, you'll outlive it. You'll beat the progression. You'll beat the diversity. And you'll die peacefully in your bed, surrounded by your family, and you'll never have to face the problem. Well, my message for people who think like that is quite clear. You're cowards. You're cowards. You might beat the curve. You might escape the diversity. But that family who are around your bed, as you close your eyes for the last time, the diversity, the progressive agenda, it'll catch up with them. And if you're the kind of person that wants to leave a world like that for your children and your grandchildren to inherit, then you're not me. And you're probably not going to be friends with me either. Because when I look at my daughter, sure, there's a lot of hassle involved with being me. And yes, I take a lot of knocks. Some of them heavy, some of them not so heavy. Some glancing blows and some that momentarily stop me in my tracks. But when I look into my daughter's eyes, as much as I would love to build that happy, fuzzy little cocoon and just stay in there and live the family life and pretend it's not going to happen, I know it is going to happen. And there's no point trying to lie to yourself. And when I look into her eyes, when I sit there at night reading her favourite bedtime stories, when we take her to the park and we feed the ducks, or she collects leaves or jumps around in puddles, I look at her and I see beautiful innocence. And I don't want to leave her to clean up a mess that her dad was too gutless to do anything about. I don't want her to face that, to face the prospect of a world where she's a hated minority, and to face a prospect of that world because I did nothing about it, because somebody took my Twitter away. So I thought, better to live an easy life from here on in, better to do things that will just make me happy in the short run, and to hell with it all. And that is the difference between me and other people. That's the difference between my mindset and the mindset of people in patriotic alternative, and the mindset of conservatives and cowards and people who want to run away. Because for me, and for the people in patriotic alternative, Laura Towler, and all the wonderful people who support our work, this isn't about creating a cozy bubble for the next 20, 30 years so we can escape reality. This is about winning our nation back and creating a future, not just for 20 years, not just for 30 years, but for millennia, so that our people can strive, our people can be the best they can be, they can thrive in a safe nation, not a bubble, but a nation. And yes, it is a big blow, it is a punch in the gut when you lose 60,000 followers, when you lose an account that was retweeted by Donald Trump's son. Yes, it is a punch in the gut. But sometimes you've just got to man up, and you've just got to say to yourself, I've got to carry on. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to carry on. And you know what? The BNP got elected councillors. They got elected MEPs. The BNP were doing well, and other parties like them have done well, and other parties overseas have won power. Nationalist parties. And they did that long before Twitter existed, long before Facebook and YouTube. So we can do it as well. And you know what? If they force us off every social network, we'll just have to go knocking on doors. We'll just have to pump out more leaflets. We'll just have to defy their orders and meet anyway. And I'll say one more thing. Nothing that is worth having ever comes easily. And anyone who thought they were going to get involved in this fight for the survival of our people, and it was going to be easy, that it was going to be a cakewalk, they were deluding themselves. It's tough, and it's going to get tougher. But believe me, a future for my daughter is worth every moment of that fight. And I hope you all feel exactly the same way as I do. Because this isn't a night for being upset over a lost Twitter account. This is a night where we all stand in defiance and we say, you're never, ever going to beat us. And we are going to keep coming back for more, no matter how many times you hit us in the gut. And eventually, we are going to win. And that is what terrifies them more than anything. So if anyone's got any questions, so that rant went on a little longer than I expected, a bit of an unscripted one tonight. But if anyone's got any questions, I will deal with the questions and the super chats now. If you want to super chat, if you want to send anything in, you can do. I'm going to drop the Entropy link in both of the chats now. Obviously, can't tweet it out. But here goes. The Inextinguishable gave £20 and said, screw Twitter. Well, thank you very much. JP gave £10. Thank you very much. He said, I am sorry you lost your Twitter account. Censorship is the only weapons cowards have. I will be sure to video clip relevant portions of your show as I've been doing on Twitter. Love the show. Keep doing God's work. Well, I will, and thank you very much for the super chat. Serena JB gave £5. Thank you very much. And she says, very sorry to see you banned from Twitter. Do you know what specifically got you banned? Will you make another account, or will you go to Parler or another alternative? Well, thank you, Serena. I don't actually know what got me banned because they still haven't written to me. They haven't replied to my appeal. So I can't tell. you what it was. I was very careful with my Twitter account. I had rules. I never replied to people. I never got into Twitter spats. I never private messaged people. I never private messaged people who private messaged me with threats or vile comments. I did everything I could to stay within all of their what they call harassment parameters, because whilst I always tweeted the truth, Twitter is set up in a very interesting way. They have something that is very, very woolly, and it's called their harassment policy. And the harassment policy is basically there so that if you have a Twitter argument with somebody and you've sent somebody numerous tweets, basically that person can claim you've been harassing you. And I know numerous people who've had arguments with leftists, and the leftists have said, look, I've been sent 10 tweets in 10 minutes by this guy, and Twitter have banned them. So I always tried to steer away from those kind of arguments. I know plenty of people who've gone down that route and have lost their account. Now, I haven't got a clue what it was. As I say, I don't engage in that kind of thing. I don't private message people. And if people did private message me with death threats, I would always report them to Twitter. And I got dozens of accounts suspended for threatening me and for threatening my family. But now I haven't got a clue. If I do know, if they tell me in the future, if by some miracle they unsuspend my account, I will let you all know. Will I make another account? I'm not sure. I'd need to have a VPN. I'd need to get another SIM card. Stuff like that can be tiresome. And then if they ban that, you just keep going around in circles again and again. But I am on Telegram. I am on Parler. I am on Gab. And I am on BitChute. And if you want to stay up to date with what I am saying, please support me on those platforms. My Telegram account had about 5,000 subscribers at the beginning of the day. It's got now 6,200. You know, if people, you know, nearly 1,000 watching on DLive. There's nearly 1,300 watching on YouTube, and there's a few dozen watching through Entropy. So we've got about 2,300 people watching tonight. If everybody made sure tonight they sent out my Telegram account, my BitChute, and tried to help me out with that, that would make a big difference, because I'm safe on those places. They can't just kick me off, and that's a good thing. So I'm going to explore alternatives first. If I do come back, it will be in some time, because I don't want to just get into this pointless battle of setting up a new account for it to be nixed within a few days. And yeah, that's no good. But thank you for the super chat. Sam Sheridan gave $15. Thank you very much. He said, sorry to hear your Twitter account got banned. Quite shameless of them, as your account was very normie friendly. Also, speaking of shameless, could I get a shameless plug for the Andrew Joyce archive and the Jonathan Bowden archive on Telegram? Well, yes, you can. And I will just paste those links in both of the live chats now. Andrew Joyce, I keep saying this, my friend, please contact me so I can get you on PWR. I would very much like to have you on PWR, and it would be great if you could contact me. And also, if you used to contact me through Twitter a lot, and you obviously that was your primary source of or point of contact with me, please use mark@thefallofwesternman.com, or get my phone number from somebody like Laura or anyone else you speak to, and that'd be great. Now, that is very important. Before this happened, actually, quite a few people sent me their numbers in the last round of Twitter bans. But if you want to contact me, mark@thefallofwesternman.com, or get my number off somebody. My number's pretty public domain, so you know, just shoot me anything over that way. I'm always there as well. If you need a chat, I'm always here, and that's a great way to contact me. Auto Nature gave £25. Thank you very much for the generous super chat. He said, what is PA's plan to deal with the Lugan-presser? And do you think that it's time for nationalists to claim the moral high ground and overtly refer to our enemies as the explicitly evil people you are? Well, firstly, the easy part of that question, yes, our enemies are evil, and we should be referring to them as such. As to do with the press, one of our 20-point plan is it was 25 points. It's been condensed. One of the points on our plan is actually to investigate the mainstream media, a full and frank investigation into the media and what they are doing to harm our people, including their ownership, their objectives, and collusion between different media outlets. So if you go to www.patriotalternative.org.uk, you can find out about our 20-point plan, and you can distribute that amongst people. It's like a manifesto, but for legal reasons, it's a plan. Thank you for the super chat. A.S. Kyle sent $10. Thank you very much, my friend. He said, don't like it, just start your own nation, bigot. Indeed. That might be a plan for the future. Bailiff Basher gave $3. Thank you very much. And he said, just got my calculator out and have been checking the numbers. Over 50 million deaths worldwide this year and only 1 million attributed to coronavirus. New world order. Well, thank you for the facts. And those facts are why Patriotic Alternative has an anti-COVID lockdown leaflet that you can put out to all your friends and neighbours. Thank you for the super chat. Lee Peter gave £10. Thank you very much. And he said, let's do it together for your kids and mine. Thank you very much, my friend, indeed. Six Gun 1865 gave £5. Thank you very much. And he said, thoughts on the new COVID vaccine? I think the new COVID vaccine is so important and so good that people like me and my family who just aren't that important shouldn't need to take it because we're so unimportant. So this wonderful vaccine that's going to do so many good things for people's health, it should be given to far, far more important people than me. You know, I'm a humble guy, so I'm going to let Boris Johnson, his cabinet, those in the media and the press, the celebrities, the bankers, I'm going to let all of them take my place in the vaccination queue because it's such a great and important vaccine. It's going to make us so healthy that all these very important people need to take it first. And I think they need to take lots of it. I think they need to take double shots to make sure they're extra vaccinated against this very, very nasty disease. So please, Boris Johnson, if this stream does get to you, I want to see you and all your chums in the cabinet have double shots of that vaccine before any normies like me have to take it, because after all, your contribution to our society is so very important. There is a healthy dose of sarcasm there. Middle Class Twit gave £10. Thank you very much, my friend. And he said, have you seen the Law Commission's recommendation that hate speech in the home be criminalised? Well, thank you for the super chat. Yes, I have. They are following on from what is going on in Scotland. They want to criminalise so-called hate speech in the home. That means you can sit around your dinner table, have a conversation with your family, and if one of them reports you to the police, you can be dragged away for talking at the dinner table in your own home. Now, people have been saying we've been sleepwalking into a communist state, and some people have laughed at those who have said it. Well, we are, and this absolutely proves it. This law, or this suggested law, is so draconian, so tyrannical. We must push back against these things. I always say that we have to keep ourselves out of jail and out of the kind of legal fracas that some fake nationalists like to get themselves in to solicit donations. But there comes a point where when we are told we can't speak freely in our own home, we have to push back. And here's a big tip. Here's a big tip. Don't be that family that has those, I don't know actually know what they're called. Somebody's going to have to tell me the thing. They're like these speakers that are big cylindrical things that are, I think they're linked to Amazon or something like that. And I know people, I know nationalists that have got them in their homes and they think they're wonderful because they speak to them and they suggest music to them. All of those things are listening to you all of the time. That's Alexa. Somebody said Alexa. All of those things are listening to you. They're spying on you. Make sure you don't have those things in your living room. We don't have anything like that in our house, because all of this tech that they're saying is going to make your life easier, they don't make tech to make your life easier. They make tech to make money and to spy on you and to make more money on you by selling information about things you've said to companies. And now they'll be selling information about things you've said to the government so they can imprison you. CR gave $75. Thank you very much. That's a very generous super chat. Thank you so much. He said, you are a man of integrity, a quality that is lacking so much right now. Love to you and your family. Well, thank you so much, my friend. Very generous. Zdes gave £25. Thank you for the generous super chat. And I believe if it's the same person, thank you for the lovely clothes you knitted my daughter. The rainbow cardigan is something she adores wearing, so thank you so much. And she said, for those of you who are believers, please keep Kassiri, a fellow live chat member, in your prayers, who is currently recovering after being run over by an SUV. All the best to you and your loved ones. Hugs to Laura, Mark and PA members. Well, yes, please keep that person in your thoughts. We hope they have a very quick recovery. Thank you very much. And Leachim Orak gave $20. Thank you very much, my friend. He said, thank you for your service. Well, thank you very much for the super chat. And we have some unpaid questions too, which we will go through unless any of them are nonsensical. Rob D said, silly question maybe, is the PA conference next week officially cancelled? The PA conference has just been delayed indefinitely, and that is because of COVID. As soon as we're able to reconvene it, we will be reconvening the conference. Thank you for that. A very uncreative name said, come on, Mark, just go and come on, Mark, just go and join grifting, selling swords and capes. That's the way forward. Only kidding. Keep up the good work. Yes, now I've been kicked off Twitter, I will be launching a selection of stunning pewter swords, shields, and wacky LARPy dress-up capes. If anyone can help me with cape design, please write to me at mark@thefallofwesternman.com, and we can all go to the woods and pretend we're fighting goblins. Hurrah. Jamie Pendergast said, you're an icon of authentic nationalism to me, but what brought you to nationalism? What was the eye-opener for you? For me, it was you. You awakened many. Well, thank you, Jamie. That's very kind of you to say so. For me, what woke me up to nationalism was living in a beautiful, beautiful rural village called Rothley. I grew up around a place where there was genuine community. When I was a child, we didn't have a supermarket. We went to the village to get our groceries. We went to the butchers, we went to the bakers, we went to the newspaper shop, we went to the grocers, and my mum would get all different things from those different shops, and everyone would know our name, and we had accounts in those places, and people trusted you. People trusted you to buy something in the shop or take something away, and it'd be added to your account, and you pay it at the end of the week or the end of the month. It was a lovely environment. But the nearest large city to Rothley is Leicester. And when you go to Leicester, you see the difference between a high trust, high IQ, homogenous European society and multiculturalism. And the difference between the two is jarring, to say the least. My awakening was growing up and seeing the difference between the two. And when I got to university, that was when I got involved in politics, and I've never looked back. But thank you for the kind words. Kane Grin said, do you mind summarising how the BNP fell? Well, I would, but that's not a paid super chat, and maybe in the future. But if I go into that, there are many different things that occurred. I can give you a brief overview. There are three major things that happened. The leader appeared on Question Time. It was an unmitigated disaster. The decision was taken against the wishes of many to fight the Equalities Commission. That cost around $250,000. It was dead money. That financially hammered the party. There was other financial shenanigans going on, and in the end the party ended up over £600,000 in debt. And there was numerous backbiting, internal schisms, and as I've talked about extensively on other shows, there was a concerted effort by several people to purge those who are ideological hardliners in the party, to transform the party into a more fluffy and so-called electoral machine. However, the problem with all the fluffy, new, nice, decent people who joined is the first bump in the road, they leave. And if you've purged all of your hardliners who are with you through thick and thin to attract the fluffy people, unfortunately, when you hit that bump in the road, there's no one left at all. And it was a combination of different things. I mean, I could do an entire live stream on it that would take hours, but that is my quick assessment. I hope that's good enough for tonight. Samuel Bastable said, do you think this current lockdown will have an effect upon nationalism in a positive or negative light? Well, I think positive, because when this all started, you'd read the Daily Mail comments and everyone in lockstep would be saying, you know, we need to stay indoors, we need to stay safe, we need to social distance. People who aren't doing this are putting our elderly at risk. And to a degree, when this broke out, I was quite worried because I didn't want to see elderly people dying. I didn't want to see my mum and dad at risk. I didn't want to see swathes of our elderly folk perishing to a disease which should never have been let into the country in the first place. But as things have unfolded, we can all see that although some people needed to quarantine and socially distance themselves, i.e. those people with respiratory problems, the vast majority of people could have gone about their lives normally, and the lockdown is completely unjustified. And the Daily Mail comments now reflect that, and I can see that there's a massive sea change from normies, from people who are nominally on our side of the political fence. And I believe that that is something that we can capitalize on. Chain Reaction said, will the T have at least a small blurb about PA? I wish to hand it out here down under. Unfortunately, the T will not have that, but myself and Laura will be doing a stream at the end of the month to talk about developments in PA, and I believe we will also have a stream on Friday, and we're doing a lot of streaming this week because we have other news, massive news to report on Friday. So and I've got Jared Taylor on PWR tomorrow night, so myself, Jared Taylor and Jason will be on D Live tomorrow night, and myself and Laura will most likely streaming with some absolutely some very, very important news on Friday night. So plenty to talk about. Shagman said BAP's latest podcast professes the need of being a happy warrior in the struggle. Keep the faith, Mark. Well, I'm certainly happy, and I am indeed a warrior, so I suppose I am the happy warrior, and I will keep the faith. I always have, and this certainly isn't going to make me bow my head. A very uncreative name said, if you want to contact Joy, speak with Keith Woods or Kevin McDonald. I will do. And I also want Keith and Kevin back on my show at some point. Thank you so much. And Popcorn Power said, why not ask people to share your stream link on Twitter as part of your new start of the show ritual? Yes, that's what I'll have to do. When we're back on Wednesday, which is tomorrow night with Jared Taylor, I'm going to say to you all, please share on Twitter, because I obviously can't. So that's the non-paid question. We've had some more super chats come in, which I'll quickly deal with. Storks gave £5. Thank you very much. He said, when do you expect to have a decision from the Electoral Commission? Well, they haven't written back to us. It's in with them. I'm expecting them to reject it because I believe they're a corrupt establishment, or a corrupt wing of the establishment. They're meant to be independent. They're showing no independence whatsoever, and they're showing complete bias against us. So I actually do believe that they won't allow us to register, but we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep bashing on that door, and we're going to force them to let us in, because one thing is for sure, we want to be standing candidates at local level sooner rather than later on issues of immigration, the lockdown, demographic change. We want to fight these things on our terms, and one way or another, whether it's independent nationalists supported by PA or PA itself, we will be doing something. Jekatiro gave $3. Thank you very much. He said, sad to see you get deplatformed on Twitter. I hope everything goes well otherwise. Well, thank you, and it is doing. He gave $6, but asked the same question. We will keep fighting on. So I'm not going to make this a huge, lengthy stream tonight. I believe there are other people waiting to stream. Big apologies to Jodie Kay. She's a really, really lovely woman. She was going to stream at 7 o'clock, I've been told, but she's had to delay her stream. Jodie, are you in the chat now? If you are in the chat, please tell me if you're streaming at 8, because if you are streaming at 8, I would be more than happy to give you a plug now. Does anyone know if Jodie Kay is streaming after this? If she is, jump on over to her channel. But I just want to say an absolutely huge thank you for everyone who's been here tonight. We've had great numbers, a lot of you watching, and I just want to reassure you all, they are never ever going to break my will. I am never ever going to bow to these people. They are never, ever going to make me take the knee, because I would rather die on my feet than spend my life crawling around in the dirt, begging for mercy from people who despise me. And one further thing on that, these conservatives and these Republicans and these libertarians who do bend the knee, these people who think that by getting down and groveling to their enemies, they're going to save themselves or their family. You won't. You will actually be despised even more, because our enemies, they're not going to look at those groveling in the dirt for mercy as honorable people. They're not going to look at them as warriors. They'll look at them as beaten cowards and despise them even more. And that's why I will always stay on my feet, and I will always keep fighting. We will never, ever bow our heads, no matter what they throw at us. Thank you so much for tonight. I really hope that it's been an enjoyable stream, and thank you so much to everyone who donated so generously in times like this, especially when now I'm limited to how I can promote my work and my streams. These donations mean so much. Thank you so much. It really, really does mean a lot. And one last huge thank you, and that thank you goes out to all the wonderful people watching. Honestly, we set about to build a community. We set about to build this community. And this community is something that is so incredible. It's so powerful. It fills my heart with joy to see what we've created, to see people coming together and fighting for the future of our people, and doing so with such immense intelligence, pride, cheer, and happiness. This community gives us all faith. It gives me hope for the future, and it makes me realize that we absolutely can win this fight. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely evening. I will see you tomorrow when I'm on D Live with Jared Taylor, and I'll see you at the end of the week with Laura when we have a very, very important special announcement. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Love to you all. Have a great evening.